Suckers always hating when you coming up. Steady watching how I move, but ain't no running up. Yeah, we sliding through that city with that drummy tuck. Tryna ride on my wave, tell them buckled up. And I ain't gotta check the bezel cause my time is now. No rubber on this Glock cause we pulling out.
Hey, yo, what's good with everybody, man? I hope everybody's having a productive day, feeling blessed, and like I always say, it's one life, one chance. We only got one chance to do this right. Let's get it done. With that being said, on to another video, on to a new topic, new discussion. I'm here to share my knowledge with you guys. Subscriber asked me a great question. Think it's very important to answer it. So with that being said, hit that subscribe button, hit that like, always leave a comment. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section. Check the links in the description for all my music links, so on and so forth. Thank you. One of my subscribers asked me, what if a dude from Northern California who's never been part of a Norteno gang, doesn't claim to be a Norteno, only hung with Norteños, and he gets locked up like in county in the prison system? What's going to happen to him? Easy. I'll share it with you in this sense. Everybody's familiar with the bylaws and the bonds, the 14 bonds, the XIV bonds that were drafted up in 1984 by the big homie, Corny. Now, I'm going to share it with you. It stipulates all Norteños will take a strong positive attitude towards aiding all those of a Latin descent, as well as any other minority group worthy of our cause. It is our duty to work together in harmony and unite these forces in alliance with us to reach our set goals. Let me break that down. When it says all Norteños will take a strong positive attitude, when I was taught as a Norteño and an individual with status and leadership, is that we're going to suspend the idea of being prejudiced and biased towards anybody who wants to gravitate towards the Norteño program, the struggle, the cause. Back then was pretty much when these bonds were drafted was the XIV Soldados, which were individuals who were, you know, you gotta look at it this way. A lot of the northern Chicanos from up north, raza up north, was just being oppressed still by the hands of the Black Hand. So when the XIV soldiers were created and birthed through warfare, the Familianos looked at it like, man, they needed to create another faction, another structure, foot soldiers, not only for them, but individuals with warfare tactics and war-ready tactics that could defend the people, because the people weren't trained and weren't willing to make a stance to defend themselves like the big homies did and like our soldados were willing to do. So they had the best interest of the people at heart. And that was one of the good qualities that I ever noticed about, you know, the Familianos, is that they still, even though they were in indeterminate shoes, they still wanted to make sure the people were well protected and well taken care of and secure, thus birthing Nuestra Raza. Now, so while the hermanos were hitting the main lines and obviously infiltrating and hitting a lot of Mexican mafia members, they also had a sole duty to make sure that Raza from up north wasn't being oppressed, wasn't being abused, extorted, you know, all those bully tactics that have always been talked about throughout history. And also we wanted to encourage them to make a stance and join. You know, so it had its good qualities, and then you can't really call that a bad quality, but it was more or less, we wanted to encourage the people to start coming towards the Norteño program, Nuestra Raza program. That way the big homies looked at it like, we're making these sacrifices to protect you guys, to secure your guys. It's only going to encourage them to come join our movement, fulfill our will. So like I said, it had its good and bad qualities to it. But that positive attitude is because, you know, we weren't promoting racism like a couple of other gangs. You know, the Mexican mafia, they always had a lot of this racial bias that was instilled in them back in the day, only because back in the day everything was racially based and racially divided. I mean, you hear in a lot of instances, a lot of Mexican mafia members came from these barrios, were also gang leaders from these neighborhoods down south, and some of these down south neighborhoods with racist towards other ethnicities. It may not be like that today anymore, but back then that's how it started. So the Familianos, along with the individual who drafted up the bonds, felt it was important for us to never discriminate anybody that was willing to participate and partake in our festivities because of race, ethnicity, background, heritage. So that strong positive attitude meant always being open-minded. The same way the Familianos were approached by two individuals and they created the birth of the NR, that same open-mindedness hermanos needed to have towards anybody that wanted to become a northerner, join the Norteño program, seek asylum with our program and our soldados, and become foot soldiers. Adopt our belief system to where, like, they actually believe that, we needed to secure our people for the betterment against oppression. So we always had to teach about what was the concept of a strong positive attitude. Obviously, the bond goes on to stipulate aids towards aiding and assisting all those of a Latin descent, as well as any minority group worthy of our cause. It is our duty to work together in harmony, unite these forces in alliance with to reach our set goals. When it says Latin descent, obviously it's going to talk about other ethnicities within the Latino community, Puerto Ricans, Dominicans, anybody, of course, that shares our bloodline. Even though, everybody knows in our history the Mexica bloodline has been watered down into we're a mixed race, through the Spaniards and what the Spaniards bloodline was. Everybody knows what took place during the Aztec time. So, our blood is never pure. But we're not going to be discriminatory towards anybody, whether it was Latin descent or any minority group. Minority group being maybe a couple of Asians grew up in a northern neighborhood who seek not only protection, but a brotherhood with his barrio that happened to be homeboys representing the 14. Why would we discriminate against this minority group? Asian, an islander, a Uso. If they felt like they were worthy of our cause, it was our duty to align with these forces to reach our set goals. If any other ethnicity aside from Northern Chicano, Raza, wanted to participate in our Norteño program and enable us to further ourselves and benefit our betterment for our people, then so be it. We could never be discriminatory and push anybody away. So that same concept in this bond applies to civilians that actually are from our Northern California neighborhoods. They get locked up in county, end up in the celly with a Norteño. We're going to teach him and try to expose him and open his eyes to what it is we do. Not only to protect him, because, we're gonna have to teach him that, like, he has this in the same duty that we're going to defend him if he ever gets oppressed by, a black, a white, an Asian, a skinhead, another ethnicity group, another gang faction. We want him to reciprocate the same favor and protecting us and defending us whenever we need him, because our numbers are always going to be lower than the opposition. So yeah, they're going to come to county jail. We're going to expose them to the household policies, the yard policies, but it's not our education. Now, if he doesn't want to abide by them, it all depends on the household. If the household look at it like, bro, if he's disrespectful, like, nah, hey, forget that. I ain't following no man's rules. I don't want to listen to you guys. I don't run with you fools. Ooh. Then he's gonna get knocked down. He's gonna be placed on a BNL list as he poses a potential threat to our program. Now, if he respectfully declines to follow our household rules, saying like, hey, bro, I'm just doing my county time, I'm just at peace, we still got to teach him what it's like to program in a cell with a Norteño, because we can't jeopardize his security. But we also got to ensure that he doesn't jeopardize ours. So I'm going to have to tell him, like, look, bro, I'm going to be conducting certain things in the house. I just need you to keep your mouth shut. Don't talk about our business. Don't talk about what I talk about at this door or what comes underneath this door. And you'll be fine. And I'll make sure that nobody comes in this cell and tries to assault you, rob you, take you for your things, punks you. That way you have an opportunity to go home from county jail in one piece. That's how it works. Like I said, I had a video a long time ago, a while back, that I placed about my Celly Trucha from Dinuba. He was an individual who ran with the homies, didn't click up, but actually was involved in a shootout with the homies against some Sureños, caught an attempt. He ended up in my cell. He started programming with us just like us. I exposed him to everything. But when his dad died, he turned into a Christian, and he asked the household, like, look, respectfully, I just want to do my time and go home. My dad just died. I want to turn my life over to God, if that's okay. I don't want to become a victim from you guys. And I got it approved to the household, even though they kind of wanted to remove him just to get him out of the pod so that way he's not taking up bed space. I did it in the sense to protect this kid because that was my job. That was that positive attitude that I needed to have. Like, look, bro, he's not debriefing on us. He's not criticizing our program. He's not talking down on us. He's not against us. You know, his dad died, and he said, you know what, I don't want to be a part of this. I just want to chill and relax and go home and just do my time, catch my case, and just go back to my mother. My mother needs me. You know, there's going to be instances like that where a lot of individuals that are civilians that come up north really don't want to be a part of it. But there's nothing wrong with with a civilian and a regular individual, the average Joe, kicking it with our homeboys, kicking it in our neighborhoods, growing up with us, but deciding that, you know, he's going to take another path in life and go down the right road. But, you know, he got love for us. There's been plenty of cases in my hood where there were homies that we grew up on the same street. Even if we got down with sureños, with wicked-ass sureños, even if we got down with them, they'll jump in just for the fun of it. But they never wanted to join the hood. They never wanted to join the politics. As soon as they were done, they'd go home, do their schoolwork, go to school, get good grades. But after school, they be on the block with us, smoking weed, drinking, messing around with our homegirls. We never had a problem with that because this is the minority group. But there's always a possibility that we have to educate these individuals and expose them to our program. Because sometimes, you know, like I said, our numbers are low. So we do want to encourage these regular civilians to join our program. And something, like I said, that's a good quality and a bad quality. Because obviously, you know, there's always room for expansion. There's always room for growth. There's always room for improvement. You'll be surprised that a regular civilian can turn into a straight killer. If we educated him right and set him down the path of righteousness, he became a firm believer, contributed to the cause, contributed to the Familianos' will. Next thing you know, became an asset. Next thing you know, became a big homie that made the biggest difference in our movement. So we have to keep that open mind and that positive attitude that any person that we expose our documents to, and we encourage them subtly, like we just, you know, here and there. That's what we want, though. That was always been the end result and the set goals, that we were trying to recruit everybody from Bakersfield on up to join this cause, to join this struggle. But see, the struggle back then was a little bit different. It was more Brown related. You know, you had a Barrio Unidos. You know, you had all the Brown Beret factions that the Carnales used to be a part of when they were paroling to the streets. You know, they were involved in a lot more of the movimientos, the actual movement of what it was like to be a Northern Chicano, Chicanismo. You know, it started turning into more, the belief system started turning to more just into a prison gang and a prison organization and then a mob throughout the years. That's where I think it had its good qualities, and then we kind of messed it up because, you know, we kind of diverted from the course of action, which we were supposed to do this as a struggle, as a cause. In the same sense that Cesar Chavez had a cause, we adopted those same terminologies and ideologies, but like everybody else as a criminal, we criminalized it, and then we used it for our own personal gain and our own personal meanings, and that's why you kind of see a lot more civilians kind of shine away from joining our cause, from being considered being worthy of our cause, because now homie's a little bit more picky. If you don't abide by our rules, you got two options. Either you're going to follow these rules or you can get deemed no good and smashed and get removed out this cell, because we need this cell for another Norteno who's going to get locked up. But you see where I'm going with that? We need this other cell. We need this cell so if another Norteno gets locked up, he has a secure household. He has a bunk. Because without that bunk, he could be placed in a different pod, waiting bunk in our population, and he could get assaulted by another group segment. So homies already have it put in practice to anticipate Norteños coming off the streets, coming to county jail, catching cases, going to the pen, and fulfilling and if will, working for the cause, living up to the cause, sacrificing for the cause. That's been our perception now for quite some time, since I've been an NSOL. Is that we already anticipated, it's already predictable that a lot of Norteños on the streets are going to continue to catch cases, are going to continue to do crime, and are going to continue to fulfill these walls, these beds, these bunks, these cells. And because of that, that's why the organization is going to continue to exist. That's why the cause and struggle is going to continue to exist, because we already know the repeated cycle that's going to take place. That revolving door is going to continue to be open, and more Norteños are going to walk through that door. See, I remember back then, the perspective was this. We want our people to go home and stay home. That's why all that training and discipline goes right out the door when a lot of our Norteño homeboys parole. They forget about everything that they were taught about. They forget how it was, what it's like to really struggle in a cell. Oftentimes, sometimes they didn't even have to do hard time. That's why it didn't make no difference to them, and they didn't learn their lesson. They go out here and say, you know what? Oh man, $40 for all this dope. I'm gonna smoke it up. Then forget about their kids, forget about their family, forget about what it's like to have a job. They forget about that concept of bettering our people. Go back to crime, the life of crime, just temporarily, and then they come back to jail. And the one thing about the organization and the cause and the struggle is that they have a big memory. They have an extensive memory. Oh, you did time before? You did time? When it shows up in your new arrival policy, oh, you did time here and here. Oh, you don't know how to learn your lesson. Well, we're going to give you a lesson to learn. Go ahead and take this banger. Since you've been doing all this time in all these facilities and you have yet to contribute a sacrifice, you'll be the first one that we're going to make a sacrifice. That's how we think, but a lot of people back then didn't know how leadership was thinking at the time. So to answer your question, yes, you will learn how to program like us, but it's only because we're trying to encourage you to become worthy of our cause. You know, that's our way of recruitment. But you still have the option to say, you know what, I don't want to be a part of this. But it puts you kind of in an unstable position, an unpredictable position, like what's going to take place with you next. Because if you choose not to at least conform to our household policies and our yard policies, then we don't have the right to defend you and protect you. So whatever happens to you by other ethnicities and other group segments, you really can't run back to us for protection, for help, because you pretty much abandoned us in the first place by just not living by our household rules, which is roll your mattress up, wake up at 6 o'clock, take a cat nap whenever. You know, just secure the door if it ever opens. Make sure, you know, your celly doesn't get hurt. Protect your celly. Post it for the homies whenever they're working out. That way nobody engages upon us. It's all the simple stuff. And that's all we ever ask from you. But if you choose not to and you become a victim of your own circumstance, then you can't run for us for protection, because that was the basis of our movement, was to protect Northern Chicanos, raza from up north, residents from up north. So with that being said, I hope I answered your question to the best of my ability. Thank you for asking me an honest question. So with that being said, like I always say, it's one life, one chance. We only got one chance to do this right. Let's get it done. Peace.